Welcome to the 3RW Football YouTube channel. Matthew, Lloyd and Bruce Eva with you after Hawthorn has smashed Essendon by 62 points tonight. As disappointing as the Bombers were, Lloydie, Hawthorn very, very slick.
Yeah, they were clinical, and once you get guys like Connor McDonald and Dylan Moore and Wizard Watson and Jack Gunson, all those front half players were dominant. The midfield was too good. It was the gulf in the two sides after quarter time was massive.
Hawthorn 40 shots to 18, winners across every line, sets up a huge game against the Swans back here next Thursday night.
It does, yeah. They were out of their depth, the Bombers, and they were so poor defensively, so I think that'll be a talking point for Brad Scott and the Bombers throughout the week. But yeah, I think they were shown up by the Giants last week. It's hard to know just how good they were because of how poor the Bombers were, but Sydney on Thursday night, they'll get their next test.
And finally, the Bombers, it doesn't get any easier on the road next week to take on Port Adelaide, first game of the year at the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, they'll cop a lot of heat this week despite how young they are with the way they played the game. But yeah, it's only week one and let's hope they can respond against Port.
Thanks, Lloydie, and here's our full post-match analysis from the Melbourne Cricket Ground after Hawthorn's big win. Lloydie and Jimmy, what do you say about that?
Yeah, look, I've got to apologise, Beaver. At half-time I said if the game was going to keep going the way it was, Hawthorn would have 130 marks. They had 157. They said they were going to have 24 marks inside forward 50. They had 23. And we thought they were going to have 70 inside forward 50s, and they let us down and only had 69 of those. So it didn't change. Work rate, discipline, ball use, and attention to detail and structure, and that's what stood out for Hawthorn. And Essendon, it'd be worth them just watching a lot of that. It might be difficult to watch another team, but that's what you've got to emulate. That's what you've got to aspire to be, because that's modern footy. And the way they brought guys in through draft, and I saw the way they were trying to play in the first quarter. It's that explosive nature away from a contest or a disputed ball that they've got to get to. So you've got to make the game round really big, but once you don't win it in that spot, that position all of a sudden turns into a really bad position. So you're either transitioning really hard to join in attack, or you're transitioning really hard to set up your defence. So that's where they've got to get to. The Bombers, I don't think we expected them to win, but they got taught a lesson in footy in someone who is clearly more advanced with their football and their structure and as a unit.
40 scores to 18, Lloydie, in 80 minutes of football. That is a damning statistic.
Yeah, Beaver, it's the way they lost tonight, which alarm bells would be ringing. They were so poor defensively that to see it here live and just to see where the players don't know what to do, haven't been trained. A lot of them were lazy. A lot of them were charging off to be offensive when too many of them were going at the same time, and then the turnover, and then the Hawthorn were off to the races. I honestly was really, really concerned after witnessing what I just saw.
And you're a very objective media performer, but as an Essendon man, in your core, you are still an Essendon man. How deflating is to witness a performance like that on the opening night of the season?
It is deflating because it's been a weakness of the club in Brad Scott's time, and now I didn't see anything of note to hang your hat on to say, okay, like Mackay had some great moments, but that's just an individual. But from a team collective, there was nothing really to see.
The lack of system.
The lack of system, yeah.
Haven't won a game since the Dreamtime game last year, which is May.
Which was their only win at the MCG last year.
And Hawthorn, it feels like we're doing the Sydney-Carlton game, that third quarter, a bit of the same narrative. Hawthorn scored every 10th touch. Like, it was ruthless efficiency, the chain of handballs. I was just so impressed. And watching Hawthorn live when they're in full flight, and I know we like to call them the Hollywood Hawks, and that's why I keep banging on about if you allow Hawthorn to get that first possession away, if you really enjoy doing repeat 150s, let them have that first one, because you'll spend the whole entire night running up and down the ground and across the ground. So that's what good sides do to Hawthorn. They try and squeeze them. And it mightn't seem like a really attractive, ball that they're going to get. But just think, intercept Sicily, and if he can just kick it sideways to Impey or Amon or a host of a half forward coming up, Dylan Moore who tracks up through the ground, or McDonald, well then you're not going to get the ball back for quite some time. You're relying on poor ball use from a Hawthorn player, and it's a dangerous way to play the game.
Bombers, Hawks were questioned during the week about their midfield as well, but they destroyed the Bombers through the midfield. Clearances 41 to 28. And it's 70 points were scored from the defensive half. So that's Amons and Impies and Scrimshaws and those types. Sicily, they'll just destroy you if you haven't got your pressure up. And there was no pressure whatsoever. And then players just weren't accountable. Like you pointed out, Wizard Watson so many times. Like, who's on him? And some of his crumb goals were as good as you'll ever see. Just absolutely brilliant. But there was no accountability on him or McDonald or Moore for most of the night.
I think Sam Mitchell and his coaching staff will be impressed with the evenness of the contribution. All those goal kickers, Bruce, but they had 11 players with over 20 possessions, only 2 below 10, and Barras was still a very, very good player, and he had 8. So he had 5 marks off the opposition. So everyone joined in the party. They just had full of run everywhere. So Ward had 26 and Sicily 26. You go down McDonald 24 and 2, Moore 24 and a goal, and I think everyone would be walking off the field thinking, I'm back into form. I don't think there's a Hawks player out there go, I don't know, I've still got to get into the groove of the season.
14 players hit the scoreboard. Not all kicked a goal, of course, but that shows how many guys had a ping throughout the night. And that speaks to their system as well, doesn't it, with their overlap and guys just surging forward. They don't really care who gets on the end of it. Yep, you've got the big target, of course, in Gunston and Chol. But so many of their midfielders and wingers and half-backs all love having a shot at goal.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Sam handles it after the game because of the opposition they face tonight. Sydney Swans, as you raised on Thursday night, that'll be a better indication of have they learnt from what went on last week and can they take a scalp of that note.
Xavier, first of all, can see the ice pack on your right knee. How's the knee?
No, it's fine. It's just a bit of bruising. Landed on it after a marking contest, so a bit of bruising. It'll be a bit sore, but I'll be right. Yeah.
How do you sum up what took place after quarter time tonight?
Yeah, look, it's Hawthorn's an excellent team. I think everyone knew that. GWS came out last week and played some really good footy. And then Hawthorn really did a good job of correcting some of the stuff that happened last week. So we know they're a really quality side. They played prelims. They're a really good finals team. And they're probably part of the stand. I think last week was a bit of a outlier for them. And Hawthorn are a really good team. And they showed it tonight.
Defensively, how do you sum up the performance on the whole?
Yeah, I think they really cut us apart. They've got some really fantastic ball users, and we were a bit slow to react at times. I think our first quarter was pretty good, and I think most of the second quarter was pretty good too, until that last 5. So probably the middle of the second quarter where they kind of cut us apart again, and then it kind of kept going from there. So yeah, some reaction time stuff that we need to get better at, and moving on from mistakes, umpiring decisions, that sort of stuff. And then obviously just winning some stuff down the line. I think that some of that stuff is in our control. I think our forwards, we didn't get up to give a good enough contest to bring the ball to ground. They outmarked us, took lots of intercept marks, and beat us with ground ball. So and that's what Hawthorn do. They're really good at that. They get their ball movement flowing from there. So they got the game on their terms, and then they didn't look back. So we've got to try and fix some of that stuff. Some of it can be in our control. But it's also just reaction time as well.
Were they things that you were looking to try and fix during the off-season, focusing in on, or is that something you've learned out of tonight?
We've been going really hard in off-season and pre-season and stuff like that with what we know we need to get better at, and that is some of that defensive stuff and getting transitions, all that sort of stuff. But we're a really young side. We've got 10 players under 27 games. We're going to learn, and it's probably a good thing for us in the long run. This shows this is the level that we need to get to. With just how good they are at offense, and also with some of their defense, because their defense turns into offense, and that's what we want to. We want to be good at that. That's the modern game, and they really showed us how to do it. And so it's up to us to try and learn from that.
You got a bit of a break before next Sunday against Port Adelaide over in Adelaide. How do you take some positives out of tonight and get yourself set for another tough task next week? Yeah,
there's some awesome positives tonight. I think Sharpie was fantastic. Huss got on the scoreboard. I think Maxi Condianos did some good stuff out of half-back. So we've got to celebrate some of that stuff. We've got 3 debutants out there. I thought, quarter and a half, 2 quarters, we had some good stuff. And then I think it finished at the end of the game, put some score on at the end. So there is some highlights and there's some good ball movement stuff we can take out of it. But it's just about our consistency. That's where we need to make, that's where the game's made, is being consistent with that sort of stuff. So it's all good to turn on for 5-10 minutes, but can you do it for a quarter? Can you do it for a half? Can you do it for a game? That's what we need to get better at, and that's where we need to do. That's where we need to do our work.
Finally, Bombers fans that turn up tonight, this game always has a lot of anticipation around it. First game of the season, someone be heading home disappointed. Do you have anything you'd like to say to them ahead of the next few weeks, certainly to get the season rolling after tonight?
Yeah, look, our Bombers fans are fantastic. They showed up tonight. They cheered us on. It might have been tough for them to look at that, but we very much greatly appreciate them, and we know that how much it means to us just to have all our Bomber fans out there. So, we look forward to Adelaide next week, at Port Adelaide next week, and same thing. Hopefully, we get a good Bombers turnout, and then next time we get the home game against the North, I mean, same thing. They always turn up, and we're so grateful for them. We're going to hopefully repay them for some of their faith that they put in us. So, fingers crossed we can get that done for them.
Long year ahead, but thanks for speaking to us on 3AW tonight. Good luck next week.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.